what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy.
Very excited for our next guest. It is our guy, Blake Baker, the LSU defensive coordinator. Coach, we appreciate the time. Thanks for hopping on with us this morning.
I appreciate you having me, Jacob. How we doing?
We're doing well. Hey, how's that wing doing? I felt so bad. Last time I saw you, I forgot about it, and I did the classic meathead thing. I hit you right on the back, probably where it hurt the worst.
Oh, man, you're not the only one. It's my own fault. I need to put like a big stop sign on my shoulder, but it's doing good, man. I probably have more range of motion than I had at any point last season, so it's getting there.
Oh, man, those shoulders, playing linebacker and fullback, I don't know that they ever fully get re-healed, but glad you finally got that fixed and, still trying to continue fixing the LSU defense. Big steps last year, Coach, but how much different is it, I guess, this year and this spring now that, look, you know everybody knows you, they know the expectation, you got a lot of the same staff members. Does year number 2 feel different than year number 1?
Yeah, I think, like you talked about, a lot of consistency in the staff. And then, even though we brought in a few guys in the portal, majority of the defense has already been through it one time. And so they know the expectation, just recall from calls, how we fit certain things. We like to be multiple on defense. So sometimes It's hard to get everything taught through a spring and through a fall camp as far as what you might see on any given Saturday. So it's definitely been, I would say, much smoother from that standpoint as far as getting everybody aligned in the same direction. And then again, with the additions that we made, I think we brought in a lot of mature and hungry guys. So it's been a fun spring so far.
Coach, obviously, when you and I were playing college football, there wasn't a ton of transfers. My entire career, we might have had like 2 transfers come in, come out, probably the same situation for you when you were playing, but now it is the norm, and now you do have roster turnover. So that's just something that everybody's kind of used to. But when you bring somebody in, like, what is that process like? Do you try to get, maybe a leader to kind of show them the ropes? Do you try to put them in certain groups like, hey, take care of this guy, show him Baton Rouge, show him LSU, tell him what we're all about? Like, what's kind of the steps you take whenever somebody new, because it oftentimes is an older player who's already, known one culture at another place, and now he's got to learn this culture.
Yeah, I think some of it happens organically. I think some guys, I'll use a Jack Pyburn, for example. I think it didn't matter what program he went to. He's a take the bull by the horns kind of guy, and he's going to lead straight out of the gate, where some guys take a little longer to adjust. But the one thing that we talk about is making sure that, they're comfortable, and whatever that means, whether it's us as coaches, spending extra time with them, making sure that we try to pair them up with guys that we think, that they'll get along with. And the quicker they're comfortable, the quicker they're going to, be the best version of themselves on the football field. So I would say it's not just a standard operating procedure, cookie cutter, like this is what we're going to do. I think each guy you got to treat differently. And each guy, that transfers in is sometimes in different stages of their career. Some guys, I call it their contract year. They're coming in for their senior year, and some guys, happen to be younger. So, I think you got to handle it case-by-case basis.
You mentioned Jack there, and you know this about me, Coach. Meathead is a term of endearment for me. Like, I am a card-carrying member of Meathead Nation. Jack is as well. Like, I saw the interview. Is Wes Weeks mad that he might be the most meathead on the team?
They like to compete for it, man. So I don't think, honestly, those are 3 guys that hit it off right away, because all 3 of them are meatheads, and they're like you and I. They like accepting that role. They don't take it as an insult when you call them a meathead. But I think there's something to be said for that. I think, again, when you talk about building a defense in particular, and probably a team in general, you don't want 100 of the same guys, right? You want guys with different personalities. But those guys have all pushed each other. They're all best friends off the field. They're competing, for the same goal in mind. So it's been fun to watch.
And Coach, kind of staying with the linebacker position, I mean, with the Weeks brothers, and you also talk about Devon Keys. I mean, you've got guys that have kind of played multiple positions. I mean, Devon Keys is playing star sometimes a
Right.
year ago and actually did really well. And we think of the star position as maybe it's a safety, but he goes in there as a linebacker and does really, really well. I mean, we saw him not only in the bowl game where he has the interception for a touchdown, but you go back to the Florida game. I mean, he had key moments in this year. And so, like, is that a player that maybe got accelerated a little bit a year ago, but now you're going to be counting on him this upcoming season?
Oh, very much so. You know, we laugh all the time now. You know, he was an early enrollee, and we were so deep at the beginning, you know, going back to last spring and even at the beginning of last year, he really didn't get a lot of reps. And a big credit to him as far as staying in the playbook and not losing sight, because, you know, as a freshman especially, man, that can be hard. Your first time away from home, you're coming, you know, you're ambitious, you want to set the world on fire. And there was days he maybe got 5, 3, 4 reps a day in spring. But it never deterred him as far as staying with it, staying in the playbook. And, you know, yeah, as coaches, you talk all the time about you never know when your number's going to be called. But last year at linebacker in particular, that definitely held true with West having the red shirt, with Perk going down, with, you know, Witt even going down in the bowl game. But he's a guy, you know, him and West, we're rotating them positions pretty much every single day in the spring between Mike and Will, man, and they have done an outstanding job. And a lot of that's just to provide position flexibility so we don't, you know, bind like we did last year. And both of those guys are taking heed to it and really been studying the playbook, because it's not easy to flip positions every single day. And I'm really proud of those two guys.
Catching up with LSU defense coordinator Blake Baker here on OTB. You mentioned Perk there as well. We know Witt's been out with injury, and we've seen some of the videos of him working out. And I know you and Harold Perkins have a great relationship. Remember talking with you about that last offseason, how much film y'all watched together. Kind of where is he at now as far as his mindset and maybe what you see his future looking like in the fall?
Man, Perk is extremely locked in, you know, and I said this when it happened, and I didn't mean it in a negative light, but in some ways, you know, being hurt might have been the best thing that ever happened to him. Kind of just sit back, you know, let the game unfold from a mental standpoint in front of him. But the attention to detail, the work that he's putting in with Jack Marucci downstairs with the VR, obviously not being able to get the physical reps on the field, he could easily, you know, take it easy and just come to the hour film meeting that we do every single day, and that be it. But he's going above and beyond and answering questions, and he's extremely locked in. So I think he's gonna have a big year next year, you know. And I don't want to put, I think part of the problem, in my opinion, has been the expectation that's been put on him. And obviously with a player that talent and that caliber, you know, we still got to remember that he's, you know, 20 years old or whatever he is. So, but I do think he's going to have an outstanding season. I think he's really focused. And I think between him and West and Devon and Witt, and some of these, you know, Ty Singletons coming along, and then we get 3 more freshmen, I think they're all gonna complement each other really, really well. So I don't think the onus is going to be on, here's Harold Perkins, he's the star of the defense. I think we have a lot of really, really good players in that room that feed off of each other, make each other better.
Yeah, and you mentioned a little bit earlier, Coach, bringing some new faces in to help with that. And I mean, we could go name for name, and Cooley coming over and Peyton coming over and all these different names, but like all the players that have come over, like maybe kind of how they integrated themselves, because we're talking about seniors. We're talking about fifth-year seniors. We're talking about guys that have been dudes in other places now trying to help this LSU defense. What are some of the things you've seen from that group of players, those veteran players that have come over from the portal?
Man, they're about their business, man. They come in, they work. There's not a lot of talking as far as in between plays. You know, they're just, they put their head down and they grind, man. They're blue-collar guys that have really, really, in my opinion, they've really helped our culture. And, you know, and we talk about spring being about independent player development. Like, we're not worried about who goes out there with the ones, who goes out there with twos. We switch that up daily as far as in within the day. One period, it might be Jamari and Jack out there, and then the next day it might be Pat and Gabe Relaford. So I think they're an unselfish group. Like I said, a lot of them, it is their I think half of them probably is their last year. So they just want to win.
Yeah.
And to me, sometimes you got to be careful that in the recruiting process when you're bringing in transfers. Some guys can be mercenaries where they're all about themselves. And this group is not that at all. They're all about LSU football. They're all about winning a championship and hard-working, unselfish, blue-collar guys. So I think they've added to our culture, to be quite honest with you.
Well, I mean, you mentioned all those traits, and you also brought a coach in that has all those traits and cares about LSU, loves LSU. And unfortunately for me, I've had to deal with this human being since district play in high school football when we were in the same district. Luckily, we were teammates at LSU, but I got my welcome to LSU moment when I was running fullback belly, cut it backside, thought I had an open gap, and he clotheslined me. It was number 95, Kyle Williams. Then he goes and plays 1,000 years in the NFL. What's it been like getting Kyle Williams into the fold, now going to be working with that defensive line? I think we all know the mentality, and I know you know him as well coming in.
Yeah, he's been awesome. I mean, when you talk about like we just talked about, all the traits that you look for in a player, you look for in a coach, extremely humble, and he played, like you said, he played 13 years or whatever it was in the NFL and has been an all-pro. But you'd never know it when you sit down and talk with him. He just wants to bring out the best in our guys, and I think that he's bringing out a little more attack, a little more vertical presence on the inside, which is what we want. And when we sat down and talked for the first time, I mean, shoot, I'm not a big phone guy. I know he's not a big phone guy. We sat there and talked for an hour and 45 minutes, and so we hit it off right away just from a personality standpoint. Then when we talk ball, we hit it off from a stylistic standpoint. And I think he gets the most out of our players. Even talking to some of the guys at Ruston beforehand, their strength coach at Ruston actually played for me at Louisiana Tech, and he said glowing things, and Kyle's lived up to it, man. He's been really, really fun to work with.
Yeah, I was really excited about that hire, just, being his teammate, knowing what he's all about. I think he's doing a fantastic job already, going to continue to do that. All right, Coach, before we get you out of here, the chat wants to know something. You talk about not wanting to have poodles. You said no poodles. Don't want any poodles over here. T-Bob's out sick today. Would you consider that a poodle?
Absolutely, man. There's no reason to miss talking on the radio. They got cough drops, T-Bob. I hope you're listening, and I'm thoroughly disappointed. I did not expect that type of behavior out of you, but we'll get you over here, get you some plate pushes, man, and get you fixed right back up.
That's exactly what I needed to hear. Coach, you're the man. I appreciate it. I'll actually see you in a couple hours over there at Pro Day. Looking forward to it.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.